Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story. The morning sun cast long shadows across the imposing wrought iron gates of Callahan Estate as Nia Thompson's worn Honda Civic crawled up the winding driveway. Her heart thundered against her ribs, each beat a reminder of how much rested on this opportunity. The pristine garden stretched endlessly on either side, a sea of perfectly manicured lawns and exotic flowers that made her modest background feel even more pronounced. At 25, with a fresh architecture degree and dreams bigger than her bank account, Nia hadn't imagined she'd be starting her professional life as a housekeeper, but desperate times called for desperate measures, and graduate school wouldn't pay for itself. She'd grown up watching her mother juggle 3 jobs to put food on the table, and if there was one thing Nia had inherited, it was her pride in honest work. The estate materialized before her like a modern castle, all gleaming glass and sleek angles that made her architect's heart skip a beat. The main building was a masterpiece of contemporary design, with floor-to-ceiling windows that reflected the morning light like diamonds. 3 stories of architectural perfection rose from the ground, complemented by elegant terraces and a rooftop garden that seemed to touch the clouds. Mrs. Baxter, the stern-faced head housekeeper, waited at the service entrance, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun that seemed to stretch her features into permanent disapproval. "You're 3 minutes late, Miss Thompson," she announced, consulting her watch with pursed lips. "I apologize, ma'am." The traffic was unexpected. Nia straightened her simple black dress, grateful she'd chosen something professional and understated for her first day. "Mr. Callahan runs a precise household. Tardiness is not tolerated." Mrs. Baxter turned sharply on her heel, expecting Nia to follow. "Your references are impeccable, though I must admit, I was surprised by your educational background. It's unusual for someone with your qualifications to seek this type of position." Nia bit back a defensive response. "I believe all work has dignity, Mrs. Baxter. My mother taught me that." Something flickered across the older woman's face, respect, perhaps before she resumed her bureaucratic mask. "Very well. Let me show you your duties." The next hour passed in a whirlwind of instruction. The mansion was even more impressive inside, with soaring ceilings and art pieces that probably cost more than Nia's entire education. Mrs. Baxter detailed the cleaning schedule, the proper handling of antiques, and the strict protocols about entering certain areas of the house. "Mr. Callahan values his privacy above all else," Mrs. Baxter emphasized as they reached the 3rd floor. "This level is strictly off-limits unless specifically requested. The same goes for his private office in the East Wing. Under no circumstances are you to enter without explicit permission." Nia nodded, mentally mapping the layout. The house was a marvel of modern architecture, with clean lines and open spaces that created a sense of flow and harmony. She couldn't help but admire the thoughtful design elements, the way natural light was maximized, how each room seamlessly transitioned into the next. "The conservatory requires special attention," Mrs. Baxter continued, leading her through a glass corridor. "Mr. Callahan often works there in the mornings. You'll need to maintain it before sunrise." They entered the conservatory, and Nia's breath caught in her throat. The space was magical, a cathedral of glass and steel filled with rare plants and a small koi pond. Morning light filtered through the geometric panels, creating patterns on the marble floor that seemed to dance with each passing cloud. "Is everything clear, Miss Thompson?" "Yes, Mrs. Baxter. Crystal clear." "Very well. You may begin with the conservatory now. Remember, attention to detail is..." The sharp click of expensive shoes on marble interrupted her. Both women turned to find a man standing in the doorway, his presence immediately commanding attention. Nia's heart stopped, then restarted with a stutter. Liam Callahan was nothing like the photos she'd seen online. Those hadn't captured the intensity of his hazel eyes, the subtle curve of his lips, or the way his presence seemed to electrify the air. At 35, he'd built a tech empire that revolutionized sustainable energy. But in person, he looked more like a classical sculpture come to life than a corporate titan. "Mrs. Baxter," he acknowledged with a slight nod, his voice deep and smooth. His gaze shifted to Nia, and the world seemed to tilt on its axis. "You must be the new staff member." "Yes, sir, Nia Thompson." She was proud that her voice remained steady, despite the sudden dryness in her throat. His eyebrow arched slightly at her name. "Nia." meaning purpose and radiance. Unusual name. My mother was a literature professor, she explained, surprised he knew the reference. Most people just commented on how strange it sounded. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. How fitting, a name tied to light and intention. His eyes held hers for a moment longer than necessary. "Welcome to Callahan Estate, Miss Thompson." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. The spell broke as he checked the screen, his expression hardening into the corporate mask she recognized from magazine covers. "Excuse me. I have a call with Singapore." He exited as suddenly as he'd appeared, leaving a vacuum in his wake. Miss S. Baxter cleared her throat. "Well, that was unexpected. Mr. Callahan rarely interacts with new staff." She gave Nia a searching look. "Remember your place, Miss Thompson. Mr. Callahan may be more approachable than most employers, but professional boundaries must be maintained." Nia nodded, though her mind was still reeling from the encounter. She hadn't expected him to be so present, so aware. Those eyes had seen straight through her, past the uniform and the role, to something she wasn't sure she was ready to acknowledge. As Mrs. Baxter's footsteps faded, Nia began her work in the conservatory, trying to focus on the tasks at hand rather than the lingering impression of hazel eyes and that hint of a smile. The morning light continued its dance across the floor, and somewhere above, a man who knew about name meanings was probably negotiating million-dollar deals. She moved through the space carefully, dusting delicate orchids and wiping down glass surfaces until they gleamed. Each plant seemed to have been chosen with purpose, creating a harmonious ecosystem that spoke of careful planning and deep appreciation for natural beauty. It was the kind of detail she hoped to incorporate into her own design someday, if she ever got the chance. The sound of footsteps made her freeze, but it was only one of the gardeners coming to tend to the exotic plants. He introduced himself as Walter, an elderly man with kind eyes and soil-stained hands, who'd worked for the Callahan family for 35 years. "You know," he said as he pruned a temperamental-looking vine, "this conservatory was Mr. Callahan's mother's pride and joy. After she passed, most thought he'd have it removed too many memories, but he maintained it exactly as she left it. Even comes here every morning to work, just like she used to." Nia absorbed this information, adding another layer to her understanding of her enigmatic employer. The conservatory wasn't just a beautiful space, it was a memorial, a connection to someone loved and lost. She looked around with new eyes, noting the personal touches that spoke of a history deeper than mere aesthetics. The morning wore on, and Nia fell into a rhythm of work, moving from the conservatory to other parts of the house. Each room told its own story. The library with its floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and well-worn leather chairs, the music room with a grand piano that seemed to be regularly played, the small study filled with photographs of a dark-haired woman who must have been Liam's mother. During her lunch break, taken in the staff kitchen with other household employees, Nia learned more about the daily rhythms of Callahan Estate. The cook, a cheerful woman named Elena, shared stories about Liam's favorite dishes and his habit of working late into the night. The groundskeeper mentioned his dedication to maintaining the estate's sustainability initiatives, including the solar panels that powered the entire property and the advanced recycling systems. But it was the casual mention of his solitude that caught Nia's attention. Despite his wealth and status, Liam Callahan seemed to live a relatively isolated life. No wild parties, no parade of socialites, no extravagant displays of wealth beyond the inherent luxury of the estate itself. It painted a picture of a man different from the tabloid assumptions, more complex, more human. As afternoon approached, Nia returned to the conservatory for final touches before ending her shift. The space looked different in the fading light, more intimate somehow. She was replacing a cleaning cloth in her cart when a voice behind her made her jump. "You've done an excellent job." Liam stood in the doorway again, his tie loosened and jacket absent, looking somehow more approachable than he had that morning. She hadn't heard him approach. Did the man always move like a shadow? "Thank you, sir. It's a beautiful space." He moved into the room, his hands in his pockets, studying the plants with what looked like genuine interest. "My mother believed in creating sanctuaries, places where the soul could breathe." His gaze met hers. "What do you think of it, from an architect's perspective?" Nia's surprise must have shown on her face because he smiled slightly. "Mrs. Baxter is very thorough with background checks. Architecture at Yale, summa cum laude. Impressive." She hesitated, then decided honesty was the best policy. The design is incredible, the way the space flows, how the glass panels are angled to maximize natural light while minimizing heat loss, the integration of water features for humidity control. It's functional art. Something flickered in his expression: approval, interest. You see more than most. I was taught to look beneath the surface. She gestured to a particularly elegant support beam. Like this, it's not just holding up the structure, it's part of the aesthetic. Form and function in perfect balance. He moved closer, following her gesture, and for a moment they stood side by side, discussing architectural principles as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He was knowledgeable, asking detailed questions about her studies and sharing insights about the conservatory's design that revealed his own deep understanding of architecture. The conversation flowed easily, too easily, until a text message shattered the moment. Liam checked his phone, and the corporate mask slid back into place. I should go. Thank you for your attention to detail, Miss Thompson. He paused at the door. I look forward to hearing more of your observations. Long after he'd gone, Nia stood in the conservatory, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This was dangerous territory. He was her employer, worlds apart in every way that mattered. And yet, there had been moments when the barriers seemed to dissolve, when they were just two people discussing shared passions, when his eyes had held hers with an intensity that suggested he saw more than just another employee. As she gathered her things to leave, Nia tried to shake off the lingering effects of their encounter. She had a job to do, graduate school to save for, a future to build. She couldn't afford to get distracted by impossible dreams, no matter how compelling they might be. But as she drove home through the gathering dusk, her mind kept returning to the conservatory, to hazel eyes and unexpected conversations about architecture, to the way he'd known about her namesake, meaning purpose and light. Something had shifted today, something fundamental and irreversible. In her small apartment that evening, as she reviewed her graduate school applications and tried to focus on her practical goals, the memory of Liam Callahan's voice discussing load-bearing beams and light diffraction kept intruding. She finally gave up and went to bed, but even in her dreams, she walked through glass corridors where shadows danced and names held hidden meanings. Tomorrow would be another day, another chance to prove herself capable of maintaining professional boundaries. But as she drifted off to sleep, Nia couldn't help wondering if she'd already crossed a line not physical, but something more subtle, and perhaps more dangerous, in the realm of possibilities that lay between what was proper and what was destined. She'd glimpsed something that both thrilled and terrified her. The question wasn't whether she could maintain her distance, but whether she even wanted to try. The stars winked outside her window, and somewhere across the city, in a glass conservatory filled with memories and promise, tomorrow waited to unfold. Chapter 2: Hidden Depths. The next few weeks at Callahan Estate settled into a rhythm that both soothed and unsettled Nia. Each morning she arrived before sunrise to prepare the conservatory, secretly hoping for another chance encounter with its enigmatic owner. Sometimes she got her wish-brief moments when Liam would appear, always impeccably dressed, to work among the plants his mother had loved. Their conversations, though proper on the surface, carried undercurrents that made her pulse race. It started with architecture and design, safe topics that allowed them to interact without crossing professional boundaries. But gradually, like water wearing away stone, their discussions deepened into something more personal. One particularly quiet morning, as dawn painted the glass walls in shades of rose and gold, Nia found Liam already in the conservatory, his suit jacket draped over a chair, sleeves rolled up as he examined a struggling orchid. The sight of him so casual, so human, made her heart skip. "Good morning, Miss Thompson," he said without turning, somehow always aware of her presence. "I'd appreciate your opinion on something." She approached carefully, maintaining a professional distance that felt more precarious with each passing day. "Of course, Mr. Callahan. These orchids were my mother's favorite," he explained, gently touching a yellowing leaf. "But lately, they haven't been thriving. Walter says the conditions are perfect, but..." He trailed off, and for a moment, vulnerability flickered across his features. Nia studied the plants, noting the positioning and light exposure. "Sometimes perfect conditions aren't enough," she said softly. "My mother used to say that living things need more than just the right environment. They need connection." His hazel eyes met hers, and the air between them seemed to crystallize. "Your mother sounds wise." She was, Is. Nia moved slightly closer, pointing to the orchids. In nature, these grow in communities. Maybe they're lonely. A slight smile curved his lips. Lonely orchids. Somehow, that feels appropriate for this house. The comment hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Nia gathered her courage. The estate is beautiful, but it does feel isolated sometimes. Beauty can be its own kind of prison. He turned to face her fully. Tell me, Miss Thompson, what makes a house a home? The question seemed to reach beyond professional boundaries, into territory that made her pulse quicken. Warmth, she answered honestly. Not just physical warmth, but emotional memories, laughter, the sense that you're truly seen. Something shifted in his expression, a softening around the eyes that made him look younger, more accessible. And do you feel seen, Nia? The use of her first name sent a shiver down her spine. Sometimes, she whispered, more than I should. The moment stretched between them, taut with possibility. Then his phone buzzed that eternal intrusion of the outside world, and reality reasserted itself. But something had changed. A door had been cracked open that couldn't quite close again. Days flowed into weeks, and their morning conversations became a cherished ritual. Liam would share stories of his travels, the challenges of running a global corporation, the weight of expectations that had been placed on his shoulders since childhood. Nia found herself opening up about her dreams of creating sustainable housing, her struggles to balance ambition with practicality, the lessons her mother had taught her about dignity and perseverance. One evening, long after her shift should have ended, Nia was completing some extra work in the library when Liam found her. He'd loosened his tie, a sign she'd learned meant he'd had a particularly challenging day. You're here late, he observed, settling into one of the leather armchairs with uncharacteristic weariness. Just finishing up some details. She hesitated, then added, You look tired. He ran a hand through his dark hair, disrupting its usual perfect styling. Board meetings. Sometimes I wonder if they forget I'm human. Do you? The words slipped out before she could stop them. His eyes met hers, sharp despite his fatigue. Forget I'm human? Sometimes it's easier in many ways to be the persona they expect. Nia set down her cleaning supplies and perched on the edge of a nearby chair, professionalism warring with genuine concern. That sounds lonely. It is. He studied her with an intensity that made her breath catch. But lately, I've been reminded of what it feels like to be seen as more than a position or a portfolio. The library's warm lighting cast soft shadows across his features, making him look less like the corporate titan and more like the man who tenderly cared for his mother's orchids. Nia found herself wanting to reach out, to offer comfort she had no right to give. Tell me about your dreams, he said suddenly. Not the practical ones, the wild ones, the ones you're afraid to voice. She should have demurred, maintained professional distance. Instead, she found herself sharing visions of revolutionary urban designs, sustainable communities that combine beauty with functionality, spaces that could transform lives. I want to create places that make people feel what I felt the first time I walked into this conservatory, she admitted. That sense of possibility, of beauty married to purpose. He leaned forward, eyes alight with interest. Show me. Before she could overthink it, Nia pulled out her ever-present sketchbook, the one where she documented ideas during lunch breaks and quiet moments. Her hands trembled slightly as she showed him concepts and drawings, but his genuine engagement made her nervousness fade. They spent hours discussing her designs, Liam offering insights from his experience in sustainable technology while she explained her vision for integrating nature with urban living. The professional distance between them evaporated in the face of shared passion and understanding. You're brilliant, he said finally, looking at her with an expression that made her heart race. Why are you really here, Nia? Working as a housekeeper when you could be designing buildings? The question brought reality, crashing back. Graduate school is expensive, she said simply, and there's no shame in honest work. No, he agreed softly, there isn't, but there's tragedy and wasted potential. Their eyes met, and the air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities. For a moment, Nia thought he might reach for her, reach the careful distance they'd maintained. Instead, he stood abruptly. It's late. I'll have my driver take you home. That's not necessary. Please. His voice was gentle but firm. Let me do this much. The ride home in his luxurious car felt like crossing a boundary, even with the driver maintaining professional silence. Nia watched the city lights blur past, her mind replaying every moment of their evening conversation. In her tiny apartment, She couldn't sleep. Her sketchbook lay open on her desk, pages filled with dreams she'd never shared with anyone else until tonight. Liam's words echoed in her mind. There's tragedy and wasted potential. The next morning, she arrived at the estate to find a package waiting in the conservatory. Inside was a collection of books on sustainable architecture and urban planning, each one rare and valuable. The note simply read, "For your dreams." Tears pricked her eyes as she ran her fingers over the expensive volumes. The gesture was thoughtful, personal, and completely inappropriate between employer and employee. She should return them immediately. Instead, she found herself writing a thank you note, trying to strike the right balance between gratitude and propriety. Your generosity overwhelms me, but it's your belief in my vision that truly matters. Thank you for seeing me, Nia. The days that followed brought subtle changes. Liam began leaving books or articles he thought would interest her in the conservatory. She started bringing her own research to share during their morning conversations. They maintained professional distance in front of others, but alone, their discussions ranged from philosophy to art to their hopes for the future. One morning, she arrived to find him examining her latest sketches, which she'd accidentally left behind the previous evening. His expression was unreadable as he looked up at her. "These are new," he said, gesturing to designs for a community center that incorporated elements inspired by the conservatory. "Just ideas," she said quickly, moving to take them back. He held on to the papers. Ideas that could change lives. His eyes held hers. "Let me help you make them reality." "Mr. Callahan Liam," he corrected softly. "After all our conversations, I think you've earned the right to use my name." "Liam," she whispered, the intimacy of it making her shiver. "I can't accept your help. People would assume. Let them assume." He stepped closer, still maintaining a proper distance, but close enough that she could sense his warmth. "You're brilliant, Nia. Your talent deserves to be nurtured. And if I want more than just professional nurturing." The words escaped before she could stop them, hanging in the air between them like a challenge. His expression intensified, and for a moment, she thought he might finally break the invisible barrier between them. Instead, he took a careful step back. "We both want things we shouldn't," he admitted quietly. "The question is whether we're brave enough to reach for them." Before she could respond, Miss S. Baxter's voice carried from the corridor, breaking the moment. Liam moved away smoothly, resuming his professional demeanor as the head housekeeper entered. But that evening, Nia found another note waiting. "Some boundaries exist to be challenged. Others exist to prove our strength in respecting them. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference." As she lay in bed that night, Nia wondered which category their growing connection fell into. The professional in her knew they were playing with fire. The woman in her couldn't help but think that some things were worth getting burned for. Morning would bring new challenges, new moments of connection and restraint, but for now, she allowed herself to dream of hazel eyes and gentle hands tending orchids, of conversations that touched her soul, of a man who saw beyond her uniform to the dreams beneath. In the quiet darkness, a truth she'd been avoiding crystallized. She was falling in love with Liam Callahan, not with his wealth or position, but with the man who discussed architecture at dawn, who cherished his mother's memory in a cathedral of glass, who saw her potential and nurtured it without demanding anything in return. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home, a feeling she'd tried to describe to him in the library, the sense of being truly seen, truly known, truly accepted. Tomorrow would bring its own complications, but tonight, she allowed herself to accept the truth of her heart, even as she wondered if his beat in the same dangerous rhythm. Chapter 3: Walls of Glass. The Callahan Estate's annual charity gala was approaching, and the entire household buzzed with preparations. For Nia, it meant watching an army of decorators transform the already beautiful mansion into something magical. Crystal chandeliers were polished until they sparkled like diamonds. Fresh flowers filled every room, and delicate ice sculptures were installed in strategic locations. But it also meant watching a parade of elegant women visit the estate, each one clearly hoping to catch Liam's attention. They came for final planning meetings, bringing samples of wine and elaborate seating charts, each wearing perfume that cost more than Nia's monthly salary. She tried not to let it bother her, reminding herself that she had no claim on him, no right to the jealousy that burned in her chest. One particularly difficult afternoon, she was cleaning the grand staircase when a stunning woman in a designer suit descended, her hand trailing intimately along the banister. "Liam, darling," she called out, her voice carrying that particular tone of privileged assumption. "You simply must reconsider the seating arrangement. I simply cannot sit next to Ethan Sterling all evening, not after what happened in Dubai." Nia kept her head down, focusing on her work, but she couldn't help noticing how Liam emerged from his office, looking impeccable as always but somehow distant. "Sophia," he acknowledged coolly, "the seating arrangements are final. But darling, and I've asked you not to call me that." His tone was polite but firm. "We're business associates, nothing more." Sophia's perfectly painted lips curved into a knowing smile. "For now, perhaps, but we both know how these things work. The board has been quite vocal about their preferences for your personal life." Nia's hand tightened on her cleaning cloth, but she maintained her professional demeanor, invisible as always to the wealthy women who passed through these halls, or so she thought, until Sophia's sharp eyes landed on her. "Really, Liam, you should have the help work after hours. It's so awkward having them around." She wrinkled her nose slightly, as if Nia's mere presence offended her refined sensibilities. Something dangerous flickered in Liam's eyes. "Miss Thompson is a valued member of this household. I suggest you remember that you're a guest here, Sophia." The woman's eyes widened slightly at his tone, then narrowed calculatingly as she glanced between them. A small, cruel smile played at her lips. "How interesting," she murmured. "The board will find this very interesting indeed." After she left, the tension in the air remained. Nia started to gather her cleaning supplies, but Liam's voice stopped her. "I apologize for her behavior." "You don't need to apologize for her," Nia said softly, finally looking up to meet his eyes. "Or defend me." "Yes, I do." He moved closer, his voice low and intense. "You deserve respect, Nia. You deserve so much more than." He cut himself off, running a hand through his hair in a rare display of frustration. "More than what?" she pressed, her heart pounding. "More than being the help. More than cleaning floors, while women like Sophia parade through in $1,000 shoes. You know you're more than that to me." The words hung between them, dangerous and thrilling. "Am I?" She squared her shoulders, finding courage she didn't know she possessed. "What am I to you, Liam? Because from where I stand, all I see are walls, beautiful, transparent walls, but walls nonetheless." He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne, could see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes. "Walls can be broken. Should they be?" She forced herself to maintain eye contact, though her entire body trembled with his proximity. "Your board member made it clear what they expect from you. A suitable wife from the right social circle, someone who can host charity galas and navigate high society, not someone who cleans their houses. Do you think I care what they expect?" His voice was rough with emotion. "Do you think I haven't spent my entire life exceeding their expectations, proving them wrong about what's possible?" "This is different," she whispered, though her resolve was weakening with every second he stood so close. "Yes," he agreed, reaching out to touch her cheek with exquisite gentleness. "This is real." The sound of approaching footsteps forced them apart. Nia quickly resumed cleaning, her cheeks burning, as Mrs. Baxter appeared with a clipboard full of gala preparations. That evening, as Nia drove home, her mind spun with the day's events, Sophia's veiled threats, Liam's defense, the moment on the stairs. It all pointed to a situation spinning rapidly out of control. She should resign, find another way to pay for graduate school, protect both their reputations before rumors could start. Instead, she found herself pulling into a small cafe, needing time to think before facing her empty apartment. As she stirred her coffee, her mother's words came back to her. Life's greatest moments often come disguised as its biggest challenges. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The walls aren't made of glass. They're made of expectations and fears. Both can be overcome. L. She stared at the message, her heart racing. How had he gotten her number? More importantly, what was she going to do about this situation that grew more complex by the day? The next morning she arrived early as usual, but something felt different. The air itself seemed charged with possibility. She found Liam in the conservatory, dressed more casually than she'd ever seen him, in dark jeans and a soft sweater that made him look younger, more approachable. "I hope you don't mind that I got your number from the employee files," he said without preamble. "I needed you to know." "To know what?" she asked when he trailed off. "That I'm not afraid of what people like Sophia might say or think. I'm only afraid of losing the realest thing I've ever found." The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. "Liam, we can't what? Care about each other?" See each other as equals? Break free of the boxes society puts us in? He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming her senses. Tell me you don't feel this too. Tell me I'm imagining the connection between us. You know I can't tell you that, she whispered. But feeling something doesn't make it right or possible. Possible is a matter of perspective. He smiled slightly. I built a fortune by redefining what's possible. Why should this be any different? Because hearts are more fragile than business deals. She forced herself to step back, to maintain some semblance of professional distance. Because I have everything to lose, or everything to gain. His eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. The gala is in 3 days. Come as my guest. The invitation shocked her. You can't be serious. Entirely serious. No more hiding. No more pretending this isn't happening. The board can either accept my personal choices or find another CEO. His tone was firm. I'm tired of living behind walls, Nia. Even beautiful ones. She should have said no. Should have maintained professional boundaries, protected both their reputations, stayed in the safe confines of employer and employee. Instead, she heard herself say, I don't have anything to wear to a gala. His smile was brilliant. Leave that to me. The next day, a package arrived at her apartment. Inside was a gown that took her breath away, deep emerald green, elegantly cut, somehow both sophisticated and understated. The note read, For when you're ready to step through the looking glass, L. As she held the dress against herself, staring at her reflection in her small mirror, Nia felt like she was standing on the edge of a precipice. One step would change everything: her job, her reputation, possibly her entire future. But as she thought of Liam's words, his unwavering belief in possibilities, she realized something important. Some walls exist not to keep people out, but to test how badly they want to get in. And some hearts, once they find their match, refuse to be bound by society's expectations. The gala loomed ahead, promising to be either the beginning or the end of something extraordinary. As Nia carefully hung the gorgeous gown in her closet, she couldn't help but wonder which it would be. That night, she dreamed of dancing in a glass palace where walls dissolved at a touch and social boundaries melted like spring snow. In the dream, Liam held her close, uncaring of watching eyes, and whispered against her hair, Some things are worth any price. She woke with tears on her cheeks and certainty in her heart. Whatever happened at the gala, whatever consequences followed, she was tired of pretending, tired of ignoring the connection that grew stronger every day, tired of letting fear of judgment dictate her choices. The walls might be glass, but glass could shatter. And sometimes, she realized, shattering was exactly what was needed to let the light in. Chapter 4. Sweet Surrender. The night of the gala arrived with the dramatic flair of a summer storm. Rain pelted against the estate's windows as guests arrived in a parade of luxury vehicles, protected by a small army of valets with umbrellas. Inside, the mansion glowed like a jewel, crystal chandeliers casting rainbow reflections across marble floors. Nia stood in her tiny apartment bathroom, hands trembling as she applied the finishing touches to her makeup. The emerald green gown Liam had sent fit perfectly, as if it had been made for her. It skimmed her curves elegantly, the color making her skin glow and her eyes sparkle. She'd pulled her hair up in an elegant twist, leaving a few curls to frame her face. Her phone buzzed with a text. The car is waiting. Elle, taking a deep breath, she gathered her courage and her small clutch purse. The sleek black car waiting outside was a far cry from her usual Honda. The driver held an umbrella for her, and she settled into the leather seats, her heart pounding with each mile that brought her closer to Callahan Estate. Instead of the service entrance she usually used, the car pulled up to the main doors. As she stepped out, she caught her reflection in the rain-streaked windows. She looked like she belonged here, among the glittering elite, but her racing pulse reminded her that this was foreign territory. The moment she entered the grand foyer, she felt the weight of curious stares. These were people who had seen her cleaning their crystal glasses and polishing their silverware. Now she stood among them in designer silk, and the whispers began immediately. Sophia's voice carried across the room, sharp with malice. Well, the help cleans up nicely." Before Nia could respond, a warm hand pressed against her lower back. "Miss Thompson," Liam's voice was rich with approval, "you look stunning." She turned to face him and nearly lost her breath. He was devastating in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, his dark hair slightly tousled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. but it was his eyes that caught her. They blazed with an intensity that made her shiver. "Mr. Callahan," she managed, maintaining formality despite the electricity between them. "Thank you for the invitation." "Dance with me," he said softly, extending his hand. The ballroom had been transformed into something out of a fairy tale. The orchestra played something slow and romantic as Liam led her onto the dance floor. Other couples moved away slightly, creating a small space around them. "Everyone staring," she whispered as his hand settled on her waist. "Let them." His smile was slight but genuine. "You've given them something worth staring at." They moved together as if they'd been dancing for years, her body fitting perfectly against his. The music swelled, and he guided her through a series of elegant turns that made her dress swirl around her ankles. "The board members look like they're having collective heart attacks," she observed, noticing the group of older men and women watching them with varying degrees of horror and fascination. "Good," Liam murmured, pulling her slightly closer. "It's about time they remembered. I'm more than just their CEO." The song ended, but he didn't release her immediately. Their eyes met, and the rest of the room seemed to fade away. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her right there in front of everyone. Instead, he led her toward the terrace doors. "Walk with me." The rain had stopped, leaving the gardens fresh and glistening. String lights twinkled in the trees, creating a magical atmosphere. They strolled in comfortable silence until they reached the conservatory. Inside, the glass walls reflected the garden lights, creating an ethereal glow. The orchids seemed to shine, their delicate petals catching the light like natural prisms. "Do you remember our first real conversation?" Liam asked, turning to face her. "Right here among my mother's flowers. You knew about my degree," she smiled. "You saw me. I've seen you every day since." His hand came up to cup her cheek, even when I tried not to. The tension between them crackled like lightning. "Liam," she whispered, "what are we doing?" "Breaking walls." His thumb brushed across her lower lip. "Rewriting rules. Following our hearts instead of society's expectations. The consequences don't matter." His voice was fierce. "Nothing matters except this here, now, us." The word us hung in the air between them, full of promise and possibility. Outside, the party continued, but in here, time seemed suspended. "I've never felt like this," she admitted softly, "so scared and so certain at the same time." "I know." His other hand found her waist, drawing her closer. "I've built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but nothing has ever felt as important as this moment." Thunder rumbled in the distance, and rain began to fall again, drumming against the glass roof. The sound created an intimate cocoon around them, as if they were the only two people in the world. "Your board will never accept this," she said, even as her hands came to rest on his chest. "Sophia's probably already spreading rumors." "Let her." His eyes burned with intensity. "I don't want their approval. I want you, your brilliance, your courage, your heart." A crack of lightning illuminated the conservatory, casting dramatic shadows through the glass walls. In that flash of brightness, Nia saw everything she needed to know in Liam's eyes. "Kiss me," she whispered. He didn't hesitate. His lips met hers with exquisite gentleness that quickly deepened into something more passionate. She melted into him, her hands sliding up to tangle in his hair as his arms wrapped more tightly around her. The kiss was everything she'd dreamed of, and nothing like she'd imagined. It was coming home and setting out on an adventure all at once. It was surrender and victory, ending and beginning. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, Liam rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said simply. "I think I have since that first morning when you talked about architecture and light." Tears pricked at her eyes. "I love you too, even though I tried not to, even though it terrifies me. Don't be afraid." He kissed her again, softly. "We'll face whatever comes together." The sound of approaching voices broke through their bubble of privacy. Liam stepped back slightly, but kept hold of her hand. "FAO ready to face them?" She squeezed his fingers. "As long as you're with me." They walked back to the party hand in hand, ignoring the shocked gasps and whispers that followed them. Sophia's face was a mask of fury, while several board members huddled together, speaking in urgent undertones. But none of it mattered. They had crossed the final boundary between them, shattered the walls of glass that had kept them apart. Whatever storms lay ahead, they would weather them together. Later that night, after the last guests had departed and the mansion had grown quiet, they stood again in the conservatory. Liam held her close as they swayed to music, only they could hear, her head resting on his shoulder. "Stay," he whispered against her hair. She lifted her head to meet his eyes. "People will talk. Let them talk." He smiled tenderly. "I'm tired of caring what people think. Tired of denying what I feel for you." The rain had stopped, leaving the night clear and full of stars visible through the glass ceiling. Nia thought about the meaning of her name, purpose and radiance, and how she'd found both in this unexpected love. "Yes," she said simply, and felt his arms tighten around her. They spent the rest of the night talking, sharing hopes and fears, making plans and promises. When dawn began to paint the sky in shades of rose and gold, they watched it together, knowing that everything had changed. The walls of glass had finally shattered, leaving only truth between them. Love had won over propriety, heart over status, reality over expectations. And in the gentle light of morning, surrounded by flowers that seemed to bloom more vibrantly than ever, they began their new chapter together. Chapter 5, Paradise Found. The weeks following the gala transformed Callahan Estate from a place of careful boundaries into a sanctuary of shared dreams. Nia moved into the East Wing at Liam's insistence, though she maintained her small apartment as a gesture toward propriety. Each morning, they watched the sunrise together in the conservatory, planning their future between kisses and quiet conversations. Miss S. Baxter had resigned in protest the day after the gala, along with a few other staff members who couldn't accept the changed dynamics, but most of the household staff rallied around them, especially after seeing how Liam's presence had begun to warm the once austere mansion. One particularly memorable morning, Elena found them in the kitchen, Liam attempting to make breakfast, while Nia laughed at his endearing clumsiness with domestic tasks. "Mr. Callahan," the cook exclaimed, "you'll ruin those eggs. Here, let me show you properly." She spent the next hour teaching them both her secret recipes, her initial shock at finding her employer in her domain, giving way to maternal affection as she watched them work together. "My mother would have loved this," Liam commented later, as they enjoyed their slightly imperfect but lovingly made breakfast in the conservatory. "She always said this house needed more laughter." Nia squeezed his hand. "Tell me more about her." He pulled out his phone, showing her photos she'd never seen before. A beautiful woman with Liam's hazel eyes tending to the orchids, laughing with a much younger version of himself. "She believed in beauty and purpose existing together, like you do. Is that why you first noticed me? Because I reminded you of her?" "No," he said thoughtfully. "You reminded me of who I wanted to be, someone who sees beyond surface expectations to the heart of things." Their days fell into a new rhythm. Mornings were for shared dreams and planning. Liam would work from the conservatory whenever possible, while Nia developed her architectural projects at a desk he'd had installed beside his. They'd break for lunch together, often joined by Walter, the gardener, who delighted in sharing stories of Liam's childhood adventures among the flowers. But it wasn't all domestic bliss. The board's disapproval manifested in subtle ways: delayed approvals on projects, whispered concerns about company image, thinly veiled suggestions about more suitable relationships. Sophia's gossip had spread through their social circle, leading to a flood of canceled dinner invitations and polite excuses from former friends. Liam met each challenge with unwavering determination. When a major investor threatened to pull out over concerns about leadership stability, he called an emergency board meeting. "I've sacrificed my personal life for this company's success for over a decade," he declared, his voice carrying the authority that had built his empire. "I've exceeded every goal, broken every record, and generated more wealth than any previous CEO. If my choice of partner makes you uncomfortable, I suggest you examine your own prejudices. My relationship with Nia is non-negotiable." That evening, he returned home looking drained but satisfied. Nia was waiting in their favorite spot in the garden, a secluded bench surrounded by climbing roses. "How bad was it?" she asked, pulling him close. "Worth it," he smiled, kissing her softly. "They'll adapt, or they'll leave. Either way, I'm not compromising on us." His words warmed her heart, but concern lingered. "I don't want to damage everything you've built." "You're not damaging anything. You're making it better." He sat up, suddenly animated. "Actually, you've inspired something new. I want to launch a foundation focusing on sustainable housing and education initiatives, using our resources to make real change." Nia's eyes widened as he outlined his vision: It aligned perfectly with her own dreams of creating beautiful, affordable spaces that could transform communities. Together, they spent hours developing the concept, their complementary skills creating something greater than either could have achieved alone. The foundation became their shared passion, Liam's business acumen combined with Nia's architectural vision to create innovative housing solutions. They traveled to potential sites together, with Nia's practical experience helping them understand community needs, while Liam's connections opened doors and secured funding. One project particularly captured their hearts, a mixed-use development in a struggling neighborhood similar to where Nia had grown up. She threw herself into the design, creating spaces that would foster community while maintaining dignity and beauty. "See how the communal gardens connect everything," she explained one evening, showing Liam her latest sketches. "It's like your mother's conservatory, a place where beauty and function merge, where people can grow together." He watched her with love and pride. "You're remarkable, you know that? You see possibilities where others see problems." Their private moments grew more precious as their public lives became busier. They developed little rituals, morning coffee in the conservatory, evening walks in the garden, weekend brunches. They cooked together, their skills slowly improving under Elena's patient guidance. But it was the quiet moments that meant the most nights, when they lay awake talking about their dreams. Mornings when they watched the sun paint the glass walls with rainbow light. Afternoons when they worked in comfortable silence, each drawing strength from the other's presence. One such afternoon, Nia was working on the foundation's latest project when a wave of dizziness hit her. She brushed it off as fatigue from their busy schedule, but Liam noticed her pallor. "You're working too hard," he said, concerned. "Let's take a break." "I'm fine," she insisted, though she let him lead her to their favorite garden bench. "Just tired." He wrapped her in his arms, and she relaxed against his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. "Maybe we should take a vacation," he suggested. "The foundation launches next month, and after that, our lives will get even crazier." She completed his thought, but in a good way. "We're doing something that matters, Liam. You matter more." He kissed her temple. "Your health, your happiness, they're everything to me." She smiled, though another wave of queasiness rolled through her. "I'm happy, happier than I've ever been." They sat together as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The estate gardens stretched around them, more vibrant than ever under their shared care. Walter had commented that even the orchids were thriving, as if they too could sense the love that now filled the house. "I never expected this," Nia said softly. "When I took that housekeeping job, I thought it was just a means to an end. I never imagined that you'd fall in love with your employer," Liam teased gently. "That I'd find my purpose," she corrected, "not just in architecture or the foundation, but in us, in what we can build together." He turned her to face him, his expression serious. "Marry me." The words hung in the evening air, stunning in their simplicity. No elaborate proposal, no ring, just pure, honest love. "Liam," she breathed. "I know it's sudden," he continued, "and I'll do it properly later, with a ring and whatever celebration you want, but I know with absolute certainty that you're my future, my partner in everything." "Marry me, Nia." Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, yes, to everything, the ring, the celebration, the future, all of it." Their kiss was sweet with promise, but as she pulled away, another wave of dizziness washed over her. This time, Liam insisted on calling their family doctor. As they waited for the doctor to arrive, Nia rested in their bed, Liam never leaving her side, neither suspecting that this moment of concern would lead to news that would change their lives, forever news that would make their recent happiness seem like just the beginning of an even greater joy. The evening settled around them like a blanket, stars beginning to twinkle through the windows. In the conservatory below, the orchids bloomed with unprecedented vigor, as if celebrating the love that had transformed their glass home into a true paradise. For now, they simply held each other, secure in their love and shared dreams, unaware that their greatest adventure was just beginning. The walls of Callahan Estate, once cold and imposing, now hummed with warmth and possibility, protecting the precious future growing within. Chapter 6. Trust and Truth. The doctor's visit that evening changed everything. Dr. Emily Lynn, the Callahan family physician for over 2 decades, arrived with her usual calm efficiency. As she examined Nia, her expression shifted from professional concern to a knowing smile. "Well," she said, sitting back in her chair. "I believe congratulations are in order. You're pregnant." The words seemed to hang in the air, crystalline and fragile. Nia's hand flew to her stomach as Liam's grip on her other hand tightened. "But that's not all, Doctor," Lynn continued, reviewing her preliminary findings. "Based on what I'm seeing, you're carrying twins." Liam made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a gasp. "Twins? Yes, and I'd estimate you're about 8 weeks along. We'll need to schedule a proper ultrasound to confirm everything, but all the signs are there." After the doctor left, promising to arrange immediate prenatal care, Nia and Liam sat in stunned silence. The news wrapped around them like a warm blanket, both thrilling and terrifying in its magnitude. "Twins," Nia whispered, her hand still resting on her flat stomach. "Liam, we're having twins." He pulled her into his arms, his usual composure cracking to reveal pure joy. "I love you," he murmured against her hair. "All of you." But as the initial shock wore off, reality began to creep in. The foundation launch was weeks away. The board was still wrestling with their relationship. And now, this news would add another layer of complexity to their already complicated situation. "What are you thinking?" Liam asked softly, noticing her furrowed brow. "Everything's happening so fast," she admitted. "The foundation, the engagement, and now babies. I'm worried about the timing, about what people will say. Let them talk." His voice was firm but gentle. "We know the truth of our love. The rest is just noise." Over the next few days, they kept the news to themselves, cherishing their private joy. Liam became adorably overprotective, constantly checking on Nia's comfort and well-being. He had fresh flowers delivered to every room she frequented, claiming their scent would help with morning sickness. It didn't, but she appreciated the gesture. Elena, with her maternal instincts, was the first to guess. She took one look at Nia's slightly green face at breakfast and immediately started preparing her special ginger tea. "My mother used this recipe when she was carrying all 6 of us," she said with a knowing smile. "It helps with the nausea, mi amor." Nia's eyes filled with tears, damn hormones at the simple kindness. "Thank you, Elena." The cook patted her hand. "Babies are blessings, mi amor, and this house has needed the patter of little feet for far too long." But while the household staff celebrated quietly with them, the outside world presented greater challenges. The foundation launch loomed closer, bringing increased media attention and scrutiny. Nia's morning sickness made public appearances difficult, and Liam's protective instincts made him increasingly short-tempered with invasive questions about their relationship. One particularly trying afternoon, they were reviewing final plans for the foundation's first housing project when Sophia made an unexpected appearance at the estate. "Liam, darling," she called out, sweeping into his office uninvited. "We need to talk about damage control." Nia, who had been feeling relatively well for the first time that day, immediately tensed. Liam's hand found hers under the desk, offering silent support. "There's nothing to control, Sophia," he said coldly, "and I don't recall inviting you here. Don't be naive." Sophia's perfectly painted lips curved in a cruel smile. "The board is in uproar. Your little romance was scandalous enough, but now there are whispers about a pregnancy. Please tell me you haven't been that foolish." Nia felt Liam's hand tighten on hers as he stood slowly. "My personal life is not up for discussion. Sophia, not with you, not with the board, not with anyone. Your personal life affects company value," Sophia snapped. "The Callahan name means something in this world. You can't just throw away generations of social standing for some cleaning girl with a pretty face. That's enough." Liam's voice was deadly quiet. "Nia is my fiancée, the mother of my children, and the most brilliant woman I've ever known. If you can't show her proper respect, you can leave this house and never return." Sophia's eyes widened at his slip. He'd confirmed the pregnancy rumors without meaning to. Her smile turned predatory. "Children? My, how fertile the help can be." Before either of them could respond, Elena appeared in the doorway with a tray of ginger tea, her timing suspicious enough to suggest she'd been listening. "Miss Sophia," she said with deceptive sweetness, "I believe you've overstayed your welcome. Shall I have Walter escort you out, or can you find your own way?" Sophia's face flushed with rage, but even she knew better than to make an enemy of the household staff. With a final venomous glare, she stormed out. As soon as she was gone, Nia burst into tears, something that seemed to be happening with increasing frequency lately. Liam gathered her in his arms, while Elena clucked sympathetically and set out the tea. Don't let her upset you, mi amor, Elena soothed. Stress isn't good for the babies. The babies will be fine, Liam assured them both, though his own worry was visible in the tension around his eyes. We'll protect them, all of us. That evening, as they sat in their favorite spot in the conservatory, Nia voiced her fears. Sophia will tell the board. They'll try to force you out. Let them try. Liam's voice was steel wrapped in silk. I've already called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. It's time to put all the cards on the table. I should be there with you. Absolutely not. His protective instincts flared. You need rest, and I won't have them causing you stress. She caught his face between her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. We're partners, remember? In everything. These are our babies, our future. We face it together. The board meeting the next day was everything they'd expected, and worse. Sophia had indeed spread the news, and the room was hostile before they even began. But when Liam and Nia entered hand in hand, heads high and united, something shifted in the atmosphere. Liam's presentation was masterful. He outlined the foundation's progress, demonstrating how their relationship had led to innovative approaches and positive press. He showed projections for the sustainable housing projects, emphasizing the social responsibility angle that was increasingly valuable to investors. My personal life has become a topic of discussion in this room, he concluded, his voice carrying to every corner. So let me be completely clear. Nia is my fiancée. We're expecting twins. She is integral to both my personal happiness and the company's future success. Anyone who has a problem with that is welcome to tender their resignation. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, surprisingly, it was the eldest board member who spoke. Your mother would have loved her, my boy, he said softly. She always said this company needed more heart. The tide turned. Not everyone was convinced, but enough voices rose in support that the opposition was forced to back down. Sophia stormed out halfway through, but neither Liam nor Nia noticed, too focused on the future they were building together. Later that night, as they lay in bed discussing names and nursery colors, Nia felt the first flutter of movement in her womb. It was too early for Liam to feel it, but she described it to him with tears in her eyes. They're dancing, she whispered, our little miracles. He placed his hand over her stomach, and though he couldn't feel anything yet, his eyes shone with wonder. I can't wait to meet them. We still have so much to do, she mused. The wedding, the foundation launch, preparing for the babies. We have time, he assured her, and we have each other. Everything else will fall into place. As if in agreement, the babies moved again, bringing fresh tears to Nia's eyes. In that moment, surrounded by love and possibility, she knew that every challenge they'd faced had been worth it. Their trust in each other, their truth to themselves, had created something beautiful, a family, a future, a love story that would be told for generations. Chapter 7, Storm Breaking. The media storm broke on a quiet Sunday morning. Nia and Liam were enjoying their usual breakfast in the conservatory when Walter rushed in, tablet in hand. Sophia had given an exclusive interview to a major financial magazine, painting a scandalous picture of their relationship and revealing Nia's pregnancy. The headline blared across the screen, Callahan Empire Heir Scandal, CEOs. Affair with Maid results in surprise pregnancy. The accompanying article was filled with insinuations about gold digging, questionable timing, and the potential impact on company stocks. Liam's face darkened with fury as he read, but Nia's hand on his arm kept him grounded. We knew this was coming, she said softly. We were just hoping for more time. The vultures are already gathering at the gates, Walter reported grimly. Every news outlet in the city wants a statement. Liam's phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the story broke. His PR team was in crisis mode. Board members were demanding emergency meetings, and social media was exploding with speculation and judgment. Enough, Liam declared, standing decisively. We're not hiding, we're not apologizing, and we're definitely not letting Sophia control this narrative. He immediately called his senior management team and PR directors for an emergency meeting. Within hours, the estate's private conference room was filled with executives and communications experts, all offering different strategies for damage control. We need to minimize the scandal, one PR director suggested. Perhaps if Miss Thompson made herself scarce for a while. Absolutely not, Liam cut him off. Nia is my fiancée and the mother of my children. We're not separating, and we're not hiding. But sir, another executive ventured, the timing is delicate with the foundation launch approaching. and stock prices are already volatile. Then we changed the timing, Nia spoke up, her voice clear and confident despite her churning stomach. Move up the foundation launch. Show everyone what we're building together. The room fell silent, then erupted in overlapping voices, discussing logistics and implications. But Liam was looking at Nia with pride and love. That's brilliant, he said. We don't play defense. We take control of the story. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity plans were made, statements drafted, and strategies developed. By late afternoon, they were ready to face the media circus that had gathered outside the estate gates. Nia stood in their bedroom, staring at her reflection as she prepared for the press conference. Her slight baby bump was just becoming visible in her elegant green dress, the same color she'd worn the night of the gala when they'd first acknowledged their love publicly. Having second thoughts? Liam asked softly, coming up behind her. No. She turned to face him. I'm just thinking about our babies, about the world they'll be born into, the stories they'll hear about how their parents met and fell in love. He pulled her close, one hand resting protectively over her stomach. Then let's make sure they hear the true story, not Sophia's version, not the media's version, but ours. The press conference was set up in the estate's gardens, with the conservatory as a backdrop. It was Liam's idea, letting the world see them in the place where their love had bloomed. Camera flashes exploded as they walked out hand in hand, facing the sea of reporters with united determination. Liam stepped to the microphone first, his presence commanding immediate attention. Good afternoon. I've called this press conference to address the recent speculation about my personal life and the future of Callahan Enterprises. But first, I want to tell you a story about love, respect, and the kind of world I want to help build. He spoke for nearly an hour, weaving their personal story into his vision for the future. He talked about meeting Nia, recognizing her brilliant mind and beautiful spirit. He detailed their shared dreams for sustainable housing and community development, explaining how their relationship had inspired the foundation's mission. Yes, Nia worked as a housekeeper in my home, he acknowledged directly. She's also a Yale graduate with innovative ideas about architectural design and social responsibility. She taught me to see beyond surface appearances, to recognize that true value lies in character, not social status. Then he dropped the bombshell that sent reporters scrambling for their phones. We're expecting twins, and we couldn't be happier. But this joy is just part of a larger blessing. Together, we're building something that will outlast us, not just a family, but a legacy of positive change. He announced the accelerated launch of their foundation, revealing plans for sustainable housing projects that would transform communities. As he spoke, large screens displayed Nia's designs, showing how beauty and function could serve society's neediest members. When Nia stepped forward to speak, her voice was strong and clear, despite her nerves. I stand here not as a fairy tale princess who married her prince, but as a woman who found her partner in creating positive change. Our love story isn't about social climbing or scandal. It's about two people who saw past society's labels to recognize their perfect match. The questions from reporters came rapid fire. Miss Thompson, did you plan this pregnancy to trap Mr. Callahan? Mr. Callahan, what does the board think about this relationship? How will this affect the company's stock prices? They handled each question with grace and honesty, neither hiding from the truth nor apologizing for their happiness. When one reporter asked about Sophia's accusations, Liam's response was diplomatic but firm. Miss Langley is entitled to her opinions, but she speaks from a place of prejudice and personal disappointment. I prefer to focus on the future we're building, not the past others can't let go. Inside, Nia felt a flutter from the twins, as if they were lending their support. Her hand instinctively went to her stomach, and Liam's immediately covered it, a gesture caught by dozens of cameras and destined to become the defining image of their love story. The press conference ended with Liam making another unexpected announcement. We've moved up, not just the foundation launch, but also our wedding. Next month, I will be proud to make Nia my wife, joining our lives officially, as we've already joined our hearts and dreams. The media explosion that followed was unprecedented, but amid the chaos, something unexpected happened. People began sharing their own stories of love crossing social boundaries, of relationships that defied convention and proved stronger for it. Callahan love story started trending on social media, with supporters drowning out the critics. Young people especially embraced their story, seeing it as a victory for authenticity over artifice. substance over status. That evening, exhausted but content, they retreated to their sanctuary in the conservatory. The day's last light filtered through the glass, creating rainbow patterns on the floor as they held each other. "Did you see the latest stock reports?" Nia asked, showing him her phone. Callahan Enterprises' stock had actually risen after their press conference, the market responding positively to their transparency and vision. "I saw." He smiled. "Turns out, honesty is good for business. Who knew? The Foundation's website has crashed 3 times from all the traffic," she added. "People are already asking how they can get involved, donate, volunteer, because they see what I've always seen in you, someone who makes the impossible seem achievable, who turns dreams into reality." She turned in his arms to face him. "We did this together, every step, every challenge, every victory. Together." The babies chose that moment to make their presence known with a particularly strong kick that for the first time, Liam could feel too. His eyes widened with wonder as he pressed his hand more firmly against her bump. "Hello, little ones," he whispered. "Thank you for making me the happiest man alive." Nia wiped away tears. These pregnancy hormones were really doing a number on her and pulled out her tablet. "Since we're apparently getting married next month, we should probably start planning." But Liam gently took the tablet away. "Tomorrow, tonight, let's just be here, in this moment. The storm has broken, and we're still standing." He was right. Outside, reporters still camped at the gates. Social media continued to buzz with their story. And tomorrow would bring new challenges. But here, in their glass sanctuary, surrounded by blooming orchids and growing dreams, they had everything they needed. The twins moved again, gentler this time, as if settling in for sleep. Nia leaned back against Liam's chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady behind her. In a few weeks, they would be married. In a few months, they would be parents. And every day, they would continue building their vision of a better world. "I love you," she murmured sleepily. "And I love you," he replied, his arms tightening around her. "All 3 of you." Above them, stars began to appear through the glass ceiling, twinkling with promise. Nia had found her place, her purpose, her perfect match. Together, they would weather any storm, build any dream, face any challenge. The media storm that had threatened to break them had instead proved their strength. And as night fell over Callahan Estate, 2 hearts beat as one, while 2 tiny hearts fluttered beneath them, all protected by walls of glass that had become walls of love. Chapter 8. Hearts and Headlines. The aftermath of their press conference rippled through high society like waves in a still pond. Former friends who had distanced themselves now rushed to offer congratulations, their sudden change of heart transparent but telling. Sophia's social circle crumbled as people chose sides, most opting to align with the more powerful Callahan influence. But amidst the social maneuvering, one unexpected visit brought tears to Nia's eyes. Liam's grandmother, Margaret Callahan, arrived unannounced one morning, her silver hair elegantly coiffed and her posture regal despite her 92 years. "Grandmother," Liam greeted her with surprise and a touch of apprehension. The family matriarch had been traveling in Asia and hadn't responded to news of their engagement. Margaret ignored her grandson entirely, her sharp eyes fixed on Nia. "So," she said, her voice carrying decades of authority, "you're the young woman who's turned my grandson's life upside down." Nia met her gaze steadily, one hand resting protectively over her growing bump. "I prefer to think we've turned each other's lives right side up, Mrs. Callahan." A moment of tense silence passed, before the elderly woman's face broke into a warm smile. "Well said, my dear, and please, call me Margaret." She turned to Liam, finally acknowledging him. "Your mother would have adored her." Relief flooded Liam's features as he helped his grandmother to a seat in the conservatory. Elena appeared almost instantly, with tea and fresh pastries, having been alerted to the matriarch's arrival. "Now then," Margaret said, accepting a teacup, "tell me everything the newspapers got wrong, and then we'll discuss the wedding." "I assume you're planning to use the family ring?" Liam blinked in surprise. I wasn't sure you'd want us to." Margaret removed a vintage ring box from her purse. "Nonsense. This ring has blessed Callahan marriages for 4 generations. It's time it blessed a union of true love rather than social convenience." The ring was breathtaking, a deep emerald surrounded by diamonds, set in delicate platinum filigree. "It matches your dress," Margaret observed, as Liam slipped it onto Nia's finger, just as it matched Evelyn's. "Evelyn?" Nia asked softly. "Liam's mother," Margaret explained. My beloved daughter-in-law. She also married for love, though her choice was more socially acceptable. She would have championed your relationship, you know. She always said this family needed fresh blood and new perspectives. Over the next few hours, Margaret shared stories of Evelyn's early days in the family, of her passion for the conservatory, of her dreams for Liam's future. She didn't want him bound by tradition, the elderly woman revealed. She wanted him to find his own path to happiness. I wish I could have known her, Nia said quietly. Oh, my dear, Margaret patted her hand. You already do. Her spirit is all around us in this garden she created. And now it will live on in your children. The matriarch's approval shifted the social landscape dramatically. Those who had been hesitant to support the marriage now rushed to be included. Wedding presents began arriving daily, each more extravagant than the last. But Nia and Liam remained focused on what mattered most. They worked with their foundation team daily, preparing for the launch that would coincide with their wedding. Nia's designs were being finalized, construction sites selected, and community partnerships established. The babies grew stronger, now kicking regularly enough for Liam to feel them. They spent evenings planning the nursery, converting a suite of rooms near the conservatory into a magical space filled with light and warmth. 2 cradles, Liam mused one night as they reviewed furniture plans, 2 of everything. Are we ready for this? Nia laughed, leaning back against him. Not even close, but we'll figure it out together. The wedding plans came together with Margaret's expert guidance. She respected their desire for intimacy, while ensuring the event would satisfy social expectations. The ceremony would be held in the estate gardens, with the reception flowing through the conservatory and main hall, a blend of traditions. Just like your union, Margaret approved, reviewing their plans. But not everyone was as supportive. Sophia made one final attempt at disruption, leaking supposed details of Nia's humble beginnings to the press. The story backfired spectacularly when it only highlighted her intelligence and work ethic, earning her more public admiration. The board, influenced by Margaret's support and the foundation's positive publicity, finally fell in line. Even the most conservative members couldn't deny the surge in public goodwill and stock value that followed their love story. As the wedding approached, Nia found herself increasingly drawn to the conservatory. One evening, Liam found her there, gently touching the orchids that had first brought them together. Having second thoughts? He asked softly. She turned to him, radiant in the evening light. Only about letting your grandmother invite half of New York society. All I need is you. He wrapped his arms around her, careful of her growing bump. 2 more weeks, and you'll be stuck with me forever. Promise. Their kiss was sweet and sure, full of future promises. The twins kicked energetically, making them both laugh. They're either expressing approval or protesting the mushiness, Nia grinned. Smart babies. Liam smiled against her hair. They know their parents are hopelessly in love. The final days before the wedding passed in a whirlwind of activity. Margaret moved into the estate, temporarily, to oversee preparations, her commanding presence ensuring everything ran smoothly. She and Elena formed an unlikely but effective alliance, coordinating the massive undertaking with military precision. The media interest remained intense, but they managed it carefully. Selected photographs were released, showing wedding preparations, including a stunning series of Nia in the conservatory, her baby bump, elegant, in a flowing maternity dress, the family ring catching light on her finger. The night before the wedding, tradition dictated they spend apart. Nia protested they hadn't slept separately since the gala, but Margaret was firm. One night of anticipation makes the reunion sweeter, she insisted with a knowing smile. Alone in their room, Nia couldn't sleep. The twins were active, perhaps sensing her excitement. She walked to the window, looking out over the gardens, where tomorrow she would become Miss S. Callahan. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Come in. It was Elena, carrying a cup of her special tea. Can't sleep, my amor? Nia accepted the tea gratefully. It feels surreal, like a dream I might wake up from. No dream, Elena assured her, patting her bump gently. These little ones are proof of that. Now drink your tea and rest. Tomorrow, you make official what has been true in your heart since the beginning. As she finally drifted off to sleep, Nia thought about how far they'd come from secret glances and careful conversations to public declarations and shared dreams. Tomorrow would bring a new chapter, but their story had been written in their hearts long ago. In his own room, Liam also stood at the window, looking at the same gardens. The ring box that had held his mother's ring sat empty on his desk, a symbol of past love blessing future joy. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The headlines would continue, society would keep talking, and challenges would always arise, but their love had weathered the storm, proving stronger than prejudice, more powerful than status, more enduring than tradition. Tomorrow, they would make it official, but tonight, under the same stars, their hearts beat in sync, ready to begin their greatest adventure yet. Chapter 9, Two Hearts, One Dream Dawn broke over Callahan Estate in a symphony of rose and gold, as if nature itself was celebrating the day. Nia woke to the gentle sound of rainfall, considered good luck in both Western and African traditions. The estate buzzed with activity, despite the early hour, as final preparations were made for what society magazines were already calling the wedding of the decade. In her suite, Nia sat quietly while her mother, who had flown in from Atlanta, worked with expert hands to create traditional African wedding braids adorned with tiny white flowers. The intricate process was a time of bonding, of passing down wisdom from one generation to the next. "Your grandmother wore these same flowers in her hair when she married," her mother said, softly weaving another blossom into the elaborate pattern. "And I wore them when I married your father. Now they'll bless your union." Tears pricked Nia's eyes, but she held them back, not wanting to ruin the careful makeup that had already been applied. "I wish Dad could be here." "He is, baby." Her mother touched the locket around Nia's neck, containing a small photo of her father. "He's watching over you, and he would be so proud of the woman you've become." Margaret Callahan appeared in the doorway, elegant, in a dove-gray designer suit. "May I join you?" she asked with uncharacteristic hesitation, respecting the intimate mother-daughter moment. "Please." Nia's mother welcomed her warmly. These two women from such different worlds had formed a surprising bond over their shared love for Nia and their excitement about the twins. Margaret carried a large velvet box. "Something borrowed," she explained, opening it to reveal a stunning diamond and emerald necklace that matched the engagement ring. "Evelyn wore this on her wedding day. I think she'd want you to wear it on yours." As the necklace was fastened around her neck, Nia felt the weight of family history, of traditions merging and evolving, her mother's flowers in her hair, Evelyn's necklace at her throat, and new life growing beneath her heart, past, present, and future intertwined. The wedding dress was a masterpiece of design, created to accommodate her growing bump while maintaining elegance. Ivory silk flowed like water, with African-inspired beadwork adding subtle texture and meaning. The conservative cut pleased society's expectations, while traditional symbols embroidered in tiny pearls honored her heritage. "Perfect," Margaret declared, as the final adjustments were made. "Now, are you ready to marry my grandson?" "I've been ready since the first morning in the conservatory," Nia smiled, her hand resting on her bump, where the twins seemed to be participating in their own celebration. Meanwhile, in another wing of the mansion, Liam was experiencing his own pre-wedding moments. Walter, who had become much more than just the gardener over the years, helped him with his cufflinks, Evelyn's last gift to her son before she passed. "Your mother would be dancing with joy today," the old gardener said gruffly, his eyes suspiciously bright. "She always said the right person would see past the wealth to your heart. Like you saw past my tantrums when I was a boy," Liam smiled, remembering how Walter had patiently taught him to care for the orchids after Evelyn's death. "You were hurting then," Walter shrugged, "but Miss Nia healed something in you. We all saw it happen, like watching a flower bloom." The gardens had been transformed into an enchanted space that honored both family traditions. Thousands of white orchids, Evelyn's favorites, mixed with vibrant African lilies. Crystal chandeliers hung from tree branches, their light catching on dewdrops from the morning rain. The glass conservatory gleamed like a cathedral in the background. Guests began arriving, filling the rows of elegant chairs. The mix was as diverse as the decorations. Corporate executives sat beside Nia's childhood neighbors, society matrons, next to community activists who had partnered with their foundation. Sophia was conspicuously absent, having finally accepted her defeat with what grace she could muster. The ceremony itself was a beautiful blend of cultures and traditions. It began with African drums calling the guests to attention, their rhythm speaking of heartbeats and ancient celebrations. Then classical strings joined in, creating a harmony that symbolized the union about to take place. Liam took his place beneath an arch of orchids and lilies, looking more nervous than he had during any corporate merger. But when the music changed, and Nia appeared at the end of the flower-strewn aisle, his face transformed with joy. She was a vision of grace, her belly proudly displayed rather than hidden, the merged symbols of their families adorning her dress and jewelry. Her mother walked beside her, carrying both their family's strength in her straight spine and their blessing in her proud smile. Time seemed to stop as their eyes met. In that moment, they were back in the conservatory on that first morning, two souls recognizing their matching piece. The path that had led them here, from employer and employee to friends to lovers to partners, seemed both impossibly long and inevitable. The ceremony incorporated elements from both their backgrounds. They jumped the broom, an African-American tradition symbolizing sweeping away the old and jumping into a new life together. They exchanged rings beneath a chuppah, honoring the Callahan family's distant Jewish heritage. Their vows were personal and powerful, speaking of love that transcended boundaries and dreams that merged into a shared vision. "I choose you," Liam declared, his voice carrying clearly across the hushed garden. "Not for a day or a year, but for all the days of our forever. You showed me that true strength lies in opening your heart, that real success is measured in love and positive change rather than dollars and status. You carry our future beneath your heart, but you've carried my heart since the moment we met." Nia's voice trembled slightly as she responded, "I choose you through every storm and every sunshine. You saw me not as society labeled me, but as I truly am. You gave me not just love, but partnership in creating positive change. Our story proves that love knows no boundaries, that dreams can become reality when hearts beat as one." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden as they sealed their vows with a kiss. The twins chose that exact moment to kick energetically, making both parents laugh against each other's lips, a perfectly unscripted moment that photographers captured and magazines would later call authentically romantic. The reception flowed through the conservatory and into the mansion's grand ballroom. African drums mixed with classical music, traditional dishes shared space with gourmet cuisine, and guests from different worlds found common ground in celebrating love's victory over prejudice. Margaret Callahan danced with Nia's uncle, their laughter bridging social divides. Elena supervised the kitchen with military precision, ensuring every detail was perfect. Walter beamed proudly as he watched Liam lead Nia in their first dance, remembering the broken boy he'd helped heal through caring for flowers. As evening fell, tiny lights twinkled in the trees and reflected off the conservatory's glass walls. Liam led Nia back to their special place among the orchids for a quiet moment alone. "Mrs. Callahan," he murmured against her hair, holding her close. "I like the sound of that," she smiled, leaning into him, "although the society papers will probably have a field day with a pregnant bride. Let them talk. We've given them something better to write about, proof that love can bridge any divide, that dreams can become reality." The twins moved beneath her heart as if adding their agreement. Liam's hand covered the spot, his wedding ring catching the light. "Our family," he said wonderingly. "Our future." Speaking of future, Nia turned in his arms. Margaret mentioned something about a surprise honeymoon announcement. Liam's eyes sparkled. "How do you feel about combining our honeymoon with the Foundation's first international project? There's a sustainable housing development in Kenya that could use our personal attention." "Work and romance," she laughed. "Perfect for us." They rejoined their guests, moving through the celebration that marked not just their marriage, but the triumph of love over prejudice, of substance over surface, of dreams made real through joined hearts and shared vision. As the evening drew to a close, they stood together in the conservatory, where their story had begun. The orchids bloomed around them, more vibrant than ever, as if celebrating with their own display of beauty and resilience. "Ready for our next chapter?" Liam asked softly. Nia looked around at their gathered loved ones, family by blood and by choice, and felt the twins move beneath her heart. "With you, always." Above them, stars twinkled through the glass ceiling, witnessing another milestone in their journey. The radiance her name promised had found its purpose here, in a love worth staying for, a dream worth building, and a future bright with promise. Chapter 10: New Horizons. The months following their wedding passed in a whirlwind of activity. Their honeymoon in Kenya had been a perfect blend of romance and purpose, overseeing the Foundation's first international project while exploring Nia's ancestral homeland. They returned to find Callahan Estate transformed by Margaret and Elena's loving supervision. The nursery was complete, a perfect blend of modern comfort and timeless elegance. As Nia's due date approached, the entire household held its breath in anticipation. The twins were active and healthy, growing strong under the watchful care of Dr. Lin. Liam became increasingly protective, managing most of his work from home to stay close to Nia. One peaceful morning in the conservatory, as they enjoyed their daily ritual of watching the sunrise, Nia felt the first contractions begin. She'd been having Braxton Hicks for weeks, but this felt different. "Liam," she said calmly, though her heart raced, "I think it's time." His head snapped up from his tablet, eyes wide. Despite all their preparations, despite the hospital bag that had been packed for weeks, despite the detailed birth plan they'd created with Dr. Lin, he looked momentarily panicked. "Are you sure? Should we call Dr. Lin? Do you need anything?" "Should I breathe?" she laughed, then winced as another contraction hit. "Yes, to calling Dr. Lin, and yes to heading to the hospital, but let's stay calm." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Their private suite at the city's best hospital had been prepared for weeks. Dr. Lin met them there, her calm presence helping to settle their nerves. "2 healthy heartbeats," she confirmed after checking the monitors. "These little ones are ready to meet their parents." Labor progressed steadily, with Liam never leaving Nia's side. He held her hand through each contraction, breathed with her through the pain, and whispered words of love and encouragement. Margaret and Nia's mother took turns providing additional support, while Elena kept everyone supplied with coffee and her special calming tea. As dawn approached the next day, the first twin made his appearance, a strong, healthy boy with Liam's dark hair and Nia's warm brown eyes. His brother followed 20 minutes later, identical in every way except for a small birthmark on his left shoulder. "Jasper and Rowan," Nia whispered, tears streaming down her face as she held them for the first time. They had chosen names that honored both their heritage and their love story: Jasper for precious treasure, Rowan for strength and growth. Liam couldn't take his eyes off his family, his own cheeks wet with tears. "They're perfect," he managed, gently touching each tiny face. "You're perfect. Thank you for making me the happiest man alive." The news of the twins' birth spread quickly. The Callahan estate was flooded with flowers and congratulations. Even Sophia sent a surprisingly gracious note and a pair of sterling silver rattles. Perhaps time had softened her bitterness. The first few weeks were a beautiful chaos of midnight feedings, diaper changes, and endless wonder at their tiny miracles. Liam proved to be a natural father, as comfortable changing diapers as he was running his company. He often worked with one or both babies sleeping on his chest, conducting video conferences in whispers to avoid waking them. Margaret moved in temporarily to help, her experience and calm authority proving invaluable. She and Elena formed an impressive team, ensuring both parents got enough rest while maintaining the household's smooth operation. "Your mother did the same for me," Margaret told Liam one evening, watching him walk the floor with Rowan while Nia nursed Jasper. "She stayed for a month after you were born, teaching me that love matters more than protocol." The boys grew quickly, their personalities emerging day by day. Jasper was the more vocal of the two, always ready to make his presence known, while Rowan observed the world with quiet intensity. Both shared their parents' love for the conservatory, their eyes tracking the play of light through the glass walls even as newborns. When the twins were 6 weeks old, Liam and Nia decided it was time to introduce them to the world on their own terms. They arranged a photo shoot in the conservatory where their love story had begun. The resulting images were breathtaking: the happy family surrounded by blooming orchids, the babies dressed in soft white, their parents' joy radiating from every frame. The photos were released, along with an update on the foundation's progress. The first sustainable housing project was nearing completion, with families already being selected to move in. The media coverage was overwhelmingly positive, focusing on the foundation's achievements as much as the adorable twins. Life fell into a new rhythm. Mornings began early with family time in the conservatory. The babies seemed most content there, perhaps sensing the special energy of the place. Liam would often find Nia telling them stories about their grandmother Evelyn, pointing out her favorite orchids, and sharing her dreams for their future. "They'll grow up knowing love knows no boundaries," she said one morning, as both boys dozed in their portable bassinets. "That dreams can become reality with enough courage and determination. They'll know because they see it in you every day," Liam replied, pulling her close. in how you've transformed not just this family, but whole communities through your designs. The foundation continued to flourish under their joint leadership. Nia's innovative architectural plans were being implemented in cities across the globe, while Liam's business acumen ensured their vision remained sustainable and impactful. As the twins reached 3 months, they celebrated with a small naming ceremony that combined elements of both their cultural traditions. The conservatory was once again transformed, this time with soft lights and gentle music that kept the babies calm and content. Walter had outdone himself with the flowers, creating stunning arrangements that incorporated blooms from both families' heritage. The orchids seemed to bloom more vibrantly than ever, as if welcoming the newest generation of Callahans. "Life is funny," Nia's mother mused during the celebration, watching her grandsons charm everyone who held them. "When you took that housekeeping job, I worried you were putting your dreams on hold. Instead, you were walking straight toward them." The babies grew stronger each day, their personalities becoming more distinct. Jasper lived up to his name, fierce and determined, while Rowan showed a gentleness that reminded everyone of Evelyn. Both boys had their father's sharp features softened by their mother's warm eyes, a perfect blend of their heritage. One evening, as they sat in their favorite spot in the garden, watching the sunset, Jasper and Rowan sleeping peacefully in their double stroller, Liam turned to Nia with a serious expression. "Do you ever regret any of it? The scandal, the media circus, the way your life changed?" She looked at their sleeping sons, then back at the man she loved. "Never. Every challenge led us here, to this perfect moment. How could I regret that?" The twins stirred almost in unison, their tiny hands reaching out until they found each other, even in sleep. It was something they'd done since birth, always seeking their connection, their bond unshakable from the start. "They remind me of us," Liam observed softly, finding each other against all odds, stronger together than apart. As if agreeing, both babies opened their eyes, fixing their parents with identical gazes that seemed wise beyond their months. Jasper gave his characteristic happy gurgle, while Rowan watched with his usual thoughtful expression. "They're going to change the world," Nia predicted, lifting Jasper while Liam picked up Rowan. "Just like their mother, like both their parents," Liam corrected, kissing her softly over their sons' heads. Together, the sun set over Callahan Estate, painting the sky in shades of promise. Inside the conservatory, orchids bloomed in eternal celebration of love that knew no boundaries, and in their parents' arms, 2 tiny boys dozed peacefully, secure in the knowledge that they were born from a love strong enough to overcome any obstacle, brave enough to defy convention, and pure enough to change the world. Chapter 11. Legacy of Love. As Jasper and Rowan approached their 3rd birthday, Callahan Estate blossomed with renewed purpose. The conservatory, where their parents' love story began, had evolved into the heart of their foundation's vision. Butterflies danced among Evelyn's orchids, a carefully maintained ecosystem that symbolized the delicate balance of preservation and progress. "Papa, look!" Jasper called out, his dark curls bouncing as he chased a particularly vibrant monarch butterfly. At almost 3, his vocabulary had expanded tremendously, though he still preferred action to words. "It's orange, like the sunset." Rowan, ever observant, sat cross-legged before a cluster of orchids, his small hands carefully holding the sketchbook Liam had given him. "These were Grandma's," he said softly, capturing the flower's essence with remarkable focus for a toddler. "They feel happy today." Nia watched her sons, marveling at how they'd inherited such distinct aspects of their family legacy. Jasper had Liam's drive and her passion for exploration, while Rowan possessed Evelyn's gentle soul and artistic sensitivity. Both boys shared their parents' ability to see beauty in unexpected places. The foundation's success had exceeded their most ambitious dreams. Sustainable communities now flourished in 12 countries, each incorporating elements inspired by the Callahan Estate Conservatory. Nia's innovative designs had earned international recognition, but more importantly, they had transformed thousands of lives. Sophia, whose initial opposition had melted after seeing the foundation's impact on families, now headed their corporate outreach program. "Your story changed more than just the Callahan name," she had admitted during the latest foundation gala. "It changed how we define success." Her transformation from antagonist to ally had been gradual but genuine, earned through witnessing the power of purpose over privilege. The twins' different personalities brought complementary energies to the estate. Jasper's adventurous spirit led to innovative child safety measures that later became standard features in their housing projects. Rowan's intuitive understanding of spaces influenced Nia's designs. His natural empathy helped create more welcoming environments. "He has Evelyn's gift," Margaret observed, watching Rowan arrange fallen petals in perfect symmetry. At 94, she remained a guiding presence. Her sharp mind now focused on nurturing the next generation's potential. The Foundation's educational initiative, inspired by Nia's journey, had expanded beyond their initial goals. They now offered full scholarships to promising students from disadvantaged backgrounds, focusing on sustainable architecture and social entrepreneurship. One morning, during a Foundation Board meeting held in the estate's conference room, Rowan quietly entered, clutching his sketchbook. Instead of causing disruption, he settled into Margaret's lap and began drawing. The board members watched in amazement as his small hands created a surprisingly sophisticated representation of the community center they'd been discussing. Starting early, Liam smiled proudly, while Jasper made his own entrance moments later, bringing energy and laughter to the formal meeting. Their sons, in their own ways, were already contributing to the family legacy. Walter, now officially the estate's head of conservation, but unofficially the twins' nature guide, had adapted the gardens to be both beautiful and educational. He created safe exploration zones for Jasper and quiet observation spots for Rowan, teaching them about the delicate balance of nature that their mother's designs sought to protect. "Your mother believed in learning through beauty," he told the boys during their daily garden walks. "She knew that understanding nature helps us build better homes for everyone." The Foundation's impact continued to grow, shaped by real-world experiences and community needs. Nia's designs evolved to incorporate suggestions from residents, creating spaces that truly served their communities. Each project became a learning opportunity, with the twins often accompanying their parents on site visits. "Remember," Liam would tell them, "we're not just building houses, we're creating homes where dreams can grow." Jasper would nod energetically, while Rowan absorbed every word, their young minds already grasping the importance of their family's mission. Elena, whose initial role as cook had expanded to include unofficial grandmother duties, ensured the boys understood both their cultural heritage and their responsibility to others. She taught them to make her special recipes, while sharing stories of both Evelyn's grace and Nia's courage. "Your mama changed this house," she would tell them as they helped her bake. "She showed us that love is stronger than any wall, even glass ones." The twins' third birthday celebration approached, promising to be more than just a family milestone. The Foundation planned to announce its most ambitious project yet, a global initiative to bring sustainable housing solutions to climate-vulnerable communities. As Nia watched her family's legacy unfold, she realized that their love story had created ripples far beyond their own lives. The Callahan name, once synonymous with corporate power, now represented hope and transformation. "Mama," Rowan called softly one evening, his small hand taking hers, "can you tell us the story again about you and Papa and the flowers?" Jasper immediately abandoned his toy blocks to join them. "And the part where you made the house pretty for everyone." Liam found them there, in their favorite spot among the orchids, sharing the story that had changed everything. He sat beside them, adding his own memories as their sons listened with shining eyes. "And now," he concluded, gathering them all close, "we're writing new chapters together." The conservatory bloomed around them, Evelyn's orchids more vibrant than ever. Through its glass walls they could see the sun setting on another day of purpose and possibility. Their sons, blessed with both privilege and perspective, were growing into boys who understood that true wealth lay in the ability to help others. "The Foundation meeting tomorrow," Nia reminded Liam softly as the twins played nearby. "Are you ready to announce the expansion?" He smiled, watching Jasper attempt to teach Rowan a new dance move, while their son preferred to sketch the moment instead. "With you and our boys beside me, always." Their love had built more than a family or a foundation. It had created a legacy of transformation. Through their children, their work, and the lives they touched, they proved that love could indeed change the world one heart, one home, one dream at a time. Chapter 12. Forever after 5 years had passed since that fateful morning in the conservatory, when a housekeeper and a CEO first locked eyes. Callahan Estate, once a symbol of isolated wealth, had become a beacon of hope and transformation. The glass walls that had once seemed to separate worlds now welcomed dreamers from all walks of life. as the foundation hosted regular events to inspire the next generation of changemakers. On this particular morning, Nia stood in the conservatory, watching her 5-year-old twins chase butterflies among the orchids. Jasper, ever the adventurer, scaled a decorative trellis, while Rowan sat cross-legged, sketching the flowers with remarkable precision for his age. "Mama, look!" Jasper called out, reaching for a particularly vibrant bloom. "It's like the ones in your wedding pictures." "Careful, mi amor," she cautioned, though she'd learned to trust her son's natural agility. Besides, Walter had long since ensured all climbing surfaces were safely secured. Well aware of Jasper's adventurous spirit, Rowan looked up from his drawing. "It's Grandma Evelyn's favorite," he said softly, adding another delicate petal to his sketch. "The one that started everything." Nia's heart swelled at her son's words. Both boys had grown up hearing the story of their parents' love, of the orchids that had brought them together, of the grandmother whose spirit seemed to live on in the conservatory she'd created. Liam found them there, as he often did, his business suit at odds with the gentle way he scooped Rowan into his arms to examine the drawing. "Another masterpiece," he praised, while keeping one eye on Jasper's aerial explorations. "Just like your mother's designs." "The Tokyo project's approved," Liam announced, pulling out his phone to show her the latest renderings. "They love your design for the community center, especially the glass butterfly garden." Rowan helped with that. Nia smiled, watching their younger son beam with quiet pride. He suggested making the glass panels different colors to create rainbow patterns on the floor, just like here. Jasper, having successfully reached his target flower, called down, "Can we visit when it's built? I want to climb the new trees." "We'll all go," Liam promised. "Family tradition, remember? We visit every new project together." These family visits had become legendary among foundation recipients. The sight of the Callahan twins playing with local children, breaking down barriers of language and culture with the universal language of childhood, did more for community relations than any formal ceremony could achieve. Margaret, now in her mid-90s but still sharp as ever, emerged from the house with Elena. Both women had refused to retire, insisting that watching the twins grow was all the rest they needed. "Board meeting in 10 minutes, Margaret reminded them, even as she reached up to help Jasper descend from his perch. "And this little monkey has lessons with his art tutor." "Not a monkey, Grandma," Jasper protested, though he climbed down with practiced ease. "I'm exploring, like Mama did when she first came here." The word struck Nia powerfully. Her son had inherited not just her eyes, but her way of seeing beyond surface appearances to the potential beneath. Rowan, meanwhile, had Liam's quiet strength and his grandmother Evelyn's gentle soul. The board meeting that followed was unlike any that had taken place in the early days of Callahan Enterprises. Community leaders sat alongside corporate executives, while screens showed partners joining from around the globe. The foundation's success had proven that profit and purpose could coexist, inspiring other companies to follow their model. Sophia, who had undergone perhaps the most surprising transformation, now headed their educational initiatives. The scholarship program has identified 50 promising young architects from underserved communities, she reported, her former society polish, now serving a greater purpose. "Each one reminds me of a certain housekeeper who dared to dream big." After the meeting, the family gathered in their favorite spot in the garden, the twins playing nearby, while Liam and Nia reviewed plans for their next project, their most ambitious yet. "The Evelyn Callahan Institute for Sustainable Design," Nia read from the proposal. "Are you sure about the name?" "She would have loved it," Margaret assured them, watching Rowan explain something about flower patterns to his more restless brother. "A place where talent matters more than background, where dreams are nurtured regardless of social status. The Institute would offer full scholarships to promising students from disadvantaged backgrounds, combining architectural training with practical business skills. It would be built on the grounds of Callahan Estate, incorporating the conservatory as its heart. From this glass garden, Liam mused, will grow new generations of dreamers, people who see beyond boundaries, who understand that beauty belongs to everyone." Jasper looked up from his brother's explanation, his face serious for once. "Can I help build it?" "Rowan can design it, and I can build it." "Me too," Rowan added softly but firmly. "We can make it perfect, like Mama and Papa did." Nia felt tears prick her eyes as she gathered her sons close. These boys, born of a love that defied convention, were already showing signs of carrying their parents' legacy forward. That evening, as sunset painted the conservatory in shades of gold, the family hosted a different kind of gathering. Residents from their very first housing project returned to celebrate its 5th anniversary. Amara, now 12 and more determined than ever to become an architect, presented her first real design proposal. "I want to build places that change lives," she announced, her young voice full of conviction, like, "Mrs. Callahan showed us we could." As night fell and stars twinkled through the glass ceiling, Nia found Liam in their spot among the orchids. The twins had fallen asleep on a nearby bench, their hands clasped even in sleep, while Margaret and Elena watched over them with grandmotherly pride. "Did you ever imagine this?" she asked, leaning into his embrace. "That morning when you found me cleaning in here, I imagined loving you," he replied, kissing her softly. "Everything else, the foundation, the twins, the communities we've built, that's beyond even my wildest dreams. We did it together," she reminded him. "All of it." A shooting star streaked across the glass ceiling, and Rowan stirred just enough to murmur, "Make a wish, Papa." But Liam shook his head, holding his family close. "No need. Every wish I've ever had is right here." The conservatory bloomed around them, Evelyn's orchids more vibrant than ever. Through its glass walls, they could see the lights of the city, where their next great project would soon rise. On the bench, their twins slept peacefully, their inherited dreams already beginning to take shape. Love had built this, all of it. Love that saw beyond social barriers, that believed in possibility, that transformed not just 2 lives, but countless others. Love that would continue to grow and inspire through their children, through the foundation, through every life touched by their story. As another star streaked across the sky, Nia remembered the meaning of her name, purpose and radiance, and how she'd found both in this life she'd built with Liam. The Callahan Estate Conservatory had become more than a glass garden. It was a crucible of dreams, a testament to love's power to transform, and a promise to future generations that anything is possible when you dare to look beyond the surface, to see the beauty within. And so their story continued, not ending, but evolving, as love stories should, in the heart of their glass garden, surrounded by blooming orchids and sleeping children. Liam and Nia held each other close, their hearts beating in perfect rhythm, a rhythm that would echo through the lives they'd touched, the communities they'd built, and the legacy of love they'd created together.